Redd means to put in order. It's what we do at Redd Remedies. Put your body in order as it relates to health. Please enjoy this webinar from our master herbalist, Stacy Littlefield.
So this is our chewable curcumin or chewable turmeric extract. And it is a really, really innovative and unique raw material. It really opens up possibilities for manufacturers such as Redd Remedies to launch really innovative ways of getting turmeric to the consumer base. So it's a single ingredient product. We don't have many of those in our line, but we felt this one was absolutely an ingredient that we wanted to launch as a standalone product. And you'll see in the supplement facts here, it's just the Curcumin C3 reduct. And because this is a chewable, we've got to add some ingredients to make it taste good. And it has a really nice cinnamon flavor that is similar to a Red Hot. It's one of the products that I have in my daily regimen of supplements because I'm not a fan of swallowing pills. So if it's in a chewable form or powder, I'm all about it. So let's talk about what is C3 Reduct. So C3 Reduct, our product is a chewable. The raw material it's what we call a body-ready form of curcumin. And that body-ready form of curcumin is called tetrahydrocurcumin. So this is a white or colorless active metabolite of curcumin. This compound also naturally occurs in ginger root. Now, for the rest of the duration of this webinar, I'm going to refer to tetrahydrocurcumin as THC. It is not the THC that some of us may be familiar with, but I think if we put that on the front of our carton, we'd probably sell a boatload of product, but that's not what it is. It's just, you know, THC is a lot easier to say than tetrahydrocurcumin when we're talking. But this is the molecule. So this is a metabolite of the parent compound of curcumin. So if we look at curcumin metabolism, there are two main ways that the parent molecule of curcumin can be metabolized in the human body and also in animal models, although the animal metabolism is a little bit different from the human metabolism. And curcumin metabolism in the pharmacokinetics, the movement of the compound and its active metabolites through the body is really complex and not fully understood. But here's what we know so far. On the left side over here, when you take curcumin in an oral form and it's ingested, you have two main pathways. One pathway creates these inactive metabolites. You have curcumin sulfates and glucuronidine. So these are the forms of curcumin that are found in the feces. So in fecal matter, you're going to find these metabolites because your body can't do anything with them. They cannot penetrate the intestinal wall. They do not enter circulation. So these are completely inactive. Your body gets rid of them. And these metabolites should never be used to determine bioavailability because all this shows is first pass metabolism in the gut and how much is turned into the inactive metabolite. On the right-hand side, you have the active components of curcumin. So there are several different forms of active metabolites, and the THC also goes through further metabolism. So curcumin is metabolized into the THC, the tetrahydrocurcumin, which is then further metabolized into hexahydrocurcumin, and then you have a final metabolite of hexahydrocurcuminol. Now, you also have dihydrocurcumin, you have octahydrocurcumin, and so there are many, many different metabolites of curcumin. But this one right here, the THC, is the most active metabolite. So when we look at curcumin metabolism in and we take a look at pH, that becomes really important because curcumin, when it is in an alkaline environment, it actually turns red. It goes from this golden pigment to this red colored pigment. It's really not stable in physiologic pH, which is 7.2. So that is the pH of our bodies, the pH of our bloodstream. It's not stable. So, and it degrades really, really quickly, and it's going to turn into this red stuff over here. If the curcumin has enough time in the digestive tract, these enzymes, this reductase enzyme called Cure is going to convert the parent curcumin into tetrahydrocurcumin. It is naturally white. It is naturally colorless because you'll see that these are not, they're not the same compounds. And the biggest difference is right in here. There are some double bonds missing here in the carbon chain. So each of these like little corners represents a carbon, okay? So hydrogens have been added. So you see double bonds here in curcumin that you don't see here in the tetrahydrocurcumin. That change alone renders it colorless, makes it white. Also changes the activity a little bit. So let's talk about the conversion of curcumin to THC because this is really interesting. And this was just kind of elucidated in the last, I would say, 5 to 6 years where in animal and human models, they discovered how curcumin is metabolized into tetrahydrocurcumin. So this compound, THC, has been identified in the intestinal and hepatic cells, the liver cells, from humans and rats. Now, it is more present, it's present in higher amounts than humans than it is in rats, and that is because of our gut microbiomes. They're different, they're not the same. It is the bacteria in your digestive system that is responsible for making this conversion. They make these enzymes. They make the reductase that will convert curcumin into tetrahydrocurcumin. Now this is the same molecule as we see up here. It's just a different rendering, which is actually showing the bending. Molecules are generally not straight like this unless you see a lot of double bonds. Those double bonds keep the molecule straight in a straight line. When you take those away, they tend to bend. They have angles, so that's what's going on here. It's bending a little bit. So because bacteria in our gut microbiome are responsible for making this conversion of curcumin to tetrahydrocurcumin, if someone's gut microbiome is compromised or out of balance somehow, this conversion is not going to take place efficiently or very effectively. And we know for certain that all of the beneficial effects of turmeric are not based upon curcumin alone. It is also the THC, the active metabolite, that gives turmeric root some of its many, many benefits. There are many molecular targets for which curcumin has absolutely no activity, but tetrahydrocurcumin does. So if someone has digestive issues, they have dysbiosis, they're on, Prilosec or Prevacid or whatever, rounds after rounds of antibiotics, this form of curcumin, the Reduct, the body ready form, is probably going to be a better option for them depending on exactly why they're using turmeric. And we'll talk about the differences in a little bit. We'll talk about the differences between the two molecules. But we know for certain that a lot of the benefit of turmeric is attributed to tetrahydrocurcumin. So that brings a lot of different things into play. A lot of different formats of drug delivery. So things that enhance bioavailability may actually decrease the production of tetrahydrocurcumin from someone's curcumin product. That has been proven in human trials where they've used different forms of curcumin and then they go looking for this active metabolite and they don't find it in the bloodstream from different types of curcumin products. So those different delivery vehicles are going to make a difference on your body's ability to convert the parent molecule to the active metabolite. So let's talk about some formulation advantages. You know, I'm the chief product formulator here, so I'm always looking for ways to bring different delivery formats to the consumer base, to the market, because frankly, people are really sick of swallowing pills. They're sick of swallowing capsules and tablets. They want a different way to use their supplements. So C3 Reduct is perfect for alternative delivery formats. And the reason why it's perfect for those is because it has a higher bioavailability than curcumin. Tetrahydrocurcumin is water soluble, so your body's going to soak up most of what you take. So it's highly bioavailable. It has its distinct biological activity, and it also shares some of the biological activity of the parent compound, curcumin. It has a higher stability versus curcumin at physiological pH. That's really important because as we add ingredients to a product, it changes the pH of the mix. So because we're using sugar alcohols like mannitol and xylitol and some other ingredients to make it palatable, that makes the pH slightly more alkaline, which would add to the rate of degradation of straight curcumin. So really not good in this format, in a chewable format. But I think the biggest advantage of C3 Reduct is the dosing efficiency. And we'll talk about dosing efficiency. That's basically, you know, formulation speak for a small amount packs a big punch. And that's important for chewables because the bulk of that tablet is everything else. It's what makes the product taste good. It's not the active ingredient. So we need something that's really, really dose efficient. And of course, it's non-staining. You can't make chewable turmeric with traditional turmeric extract. You're going to turn people's faces and mouths yellow, and their fingers and hands. You can't do that. So you need something that provides a non-staining alternative. It's also going to stain your packaging, which just doesn't look good. So let's talk about absorption characteristics, because I know bioavailability is a big conversation, and if you log into this afternoon's webinar, we'll have a deep conversation about bioavailability. But just on to highlight one of the animal studies that they did with the C3 Reduct, they had two groups of rats. These were rats. They were fed a diet containing 0.5% curcumin or 0.5% THC, and the THC was found in the blood serum of these animals. Curcumin was not. And THC was found in the liver plasma where the curcumin was not. So we know even at low dosages, at a 0.5%, we're going to get the tetrahydrocurcumin into the circulation portal. But that is not enough curcumin to get that done. You've got to multiply that by about 10 in order to see the curcumin appear in the blood serum or in the liver plasma. So we know it's bioavailable, and we know it's actually entering circulation and entering second pass metabolism in the liver. So again, you know, remember, these are two distinct compounds. They are not the same compound. Tetrahydrocurcumin is a metabolite of curcumin. They each have distinct activities, and again, they also share biological activities. So let's talk about the antioxidant activity of THC, because it's actually much higher than the parent compound of curcumin. Its ability to scavenge free radicals is much stronger when we look at this dimethoxycurcumin, which is one of the curcuminoids from turmeric root. So that's in red here. So curcumin is in yellow, and then we have the THC in white because it's white. This dimethoxycurcumin is red in color, so we have red, yellow, white. So BDMC, not the greatest antioxidant, has some activity. We've got, at a, 10 microgram concentration, you have almost 10% activity. At a 10 microgram concentration, you have about 40% activity from THC and about 25% from curcumin. So much higher activity at low concentrations, but it's dose dependent. As the dose becomes more concentrated, the activity becomes higher and higher. So you'll see when we look at curcumin, there is a big jump in activity between 20 and 30, but then there is really no difference between 40 and 50. So the antioxidant activity of curcumin plateaus at a particular concentration. Why that happens, we do not know, but we do know that there is a benefit plateau to curcumin. There are other studies where they do kind of dose escalated studies where 1 gram, 3 grams, 5 grams, and in a lot of those studies, there is no difference between 1 gram and 5 grams. So it plateaus. You don't get greater benefit. But tetrahydrocurcumin is different. The more you take, the more benefit you get. So if we look specifically at lipid peroxidation and all of the curcuminoids, we also see that tetrahydrocurcumin does a much, much greater job at protecting fats in the body than curcumin or the D-methoxy or the bis-D-methoxycurcumin. So it's really active and against protecting fats from free radical damage. And that's really important because our cell membranes are made of fats. And most of the cellular damage that happens is initiated by free radical damage to the cell membrane. Once your cell membranes are damaged, your cells cannot communicate, they cannot keep up with cellular metabolism, and the cell dies. So we need to make sure that we can protect the fats that comprise the membrane of our cells. And tetrahydrocurcumin does a really good job of that. This is hexahydrocurcumin and octahydrocurcumin. I talked about these two earlier. Also more active than the parent curcuminoids, but not as active as curcumin, less active than tetrahydrocurcumin. So by far, this metabolite is the most active metabolite of curcumin. So let's talk about the antioxidant activity because we're going to stay on this. This is really where THC shines. Hands down, across the board, it is more active as an antioxidant than curcumin. So it does a better job suppressing lipid peroxidation, which we just showed. It does a better job of suppressing radiation-induced lipid peroxidation. It is better at suppressing drug-induced oxidative kidney damage, good for anybody that's on drugs that are processed by the kidneys, Lasix, blood pressure medications, NSAIDs are both metabolized by kidney and liver, so important for those individuals. Really good at suppressing oxidation of LDL cholesterol. So anyone that has a family history of heart disease, anyone that's dealing with elevated cholesterol levels, this is the form of curcumin they want to use. It also does a better job of preventing brain lipid peroxidation. Does a better job at protecting your neurons from free radical damage than the parent molecule of curcumin. So there are other studies that show higher activity in other places. So the tetrahydrocurcumin was more active than curcumin in inhibiting inflammation due to the arachidonic acid chain. So if that metabolism is dependent upon the COX-2 enzyme, THC does a better job than curcumin at inhibiting that enzyme. It does a better job at normalizing your blood glucose levels. It has more powerful and more numerous anti-diabetic effects than curcumin. It does a better job at increasing plasma insulin and the availability to the cells than curcumin. It does a better job at preventing liver toxicity from all different types of scenarios, whether it's drug-induced or just toxin-induced, does a better job at protecting the liver. It does a better job at protecting the liver against cirrhosis and also fatty liver disease caused by alcohol indulgence. It does a better job at controlling blood pressure. It does a better job at lowering cholesterol levels, and it does a better job protecting your kidneys. So there are certain aspects or certain health issues where you would want to choose the C3 Reduct over a traditional turmeric extract. And so we'll talk about where I think the C3 Reduct, is going to be a better option than traditional turmeric. Toxicity studies are important because this is, not that it's new, it's naturally occurring, but it is a metabolite of curcumin in a new format. We need to make sure that there are no toxicity issues. So these are all animal studies except for the Ames test, which, you know, the Ames test is where you start. It's bacteria. It'll tell you if it causes DNA damage. So you always start with the Ames test. And if you get mutagenesis here, then you're done. You can't go forward. So no toxicity with the Ames test. The next level is the mucous membrane irritation. So inhalation, no problems, doesn't irritate the skin. When it's applied under the skin, the LD50, which is the amount it takes to elicit a reaction, is 2,000 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. That's pretty high. Oral acute toxicity is 500 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So safe, very safe, good toxicity studies. So let's talk about dosing efficiency, because this is what makes C3 Reduct perfect for chewable. And I really don't understand from a formulator, from a formulation standpoint, I would not throw this in a capsule. This is not where this material is going to shine. It's going to shine in alternative delivery formats. To me, it almost seems like a waste to throw it in a capsule, but not everybody wants a chewable, so, you know, put it in a capsule, but I think it's really a great material for ready-to-drink mixes, powders, gummies, chews, chewables, so everything else. This is where this material is going to shine. Because it has such great biological activity, when you compare it to some of the parent curcuminoids, you need a smaller dose. And so that's what this is showing us. So this shows us concentration, okay, and this is activity, okay, just basically bioavailability and bioactivity. So you'll see that you need about 40 micrograms per milliliter of curcumin to get the same activity that you're going to get from half of the THC. You need half of that to achieve the same antioxidant activity. So it packs a punch. It's a small dose. So 400 milligrams of C3 Reduct is equivalent to 1,500 milligrams of C3 complex, because that is the parent compound of the tetrahydrocurcumin, the C3 Reduct. They use their C3 complex to make the C3 Reduct. That is the parent. So it's specific to that curcumin material. So it's, you know, less than half. The recommended dose of C3 Reduct is 200 to 400 milligrams per day. That equals 2 to 4 chewable tablets per day. They can be taken all at once, or they can be taken in split doses. Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you later. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for watching. Look for more information on our website at reddremedies.com. You can sign up for our newsletters and tap into the wealth of information that we have available. Talk to you soon.